Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial. Happy Monday, and it was another big day in the stock market. We are going to review some of that. The content of this video is primarily going to include a review of some of the trades that we made, a review of things that we anticipate going to happen later this week, as well as today I'm going to talk about a technical analysis tool called Bollinger Bands, which I am using a lot more frequently on the ThinkOrSwim platform by TD Ameritrade. So thank you for tuning in. Let's dive right in. So the first thing that I want to highlight is today we did have some big moves on the SPY. We did rotate out of the TSM play that we did earlier early on Friday. And the reason for that, I believe I sold out at this point in time around 10 today. And it was one of those instances where I was like, well, I'll take the loss here. Looks like it's going to be a down day. Start coming back up. You get that, I should have held on. And then we saw a big tech sell-off today. And it was unfortunate because I also did a Datadog call for the end of this week at $86. I still anticipate some level of expectation there. Let me just take a quick look at that just to show you the experience for Datadog. You can see my 86 call here by the end of the week. I didn't close out of it because I still think that there's potential there. But if I get out of that, you can see that Datadog, if you go off the weekly, they had a huge sell-off last week. And my thought process behind that, or the thought process behind trying to get back into this play, is because I do like the company. If I had the money laying around, I would buy some shares at this point in time. And Datadog may be a company that we look at in the future for just our stock and review video, but I'm just highlighting the play that I did. So if we look at the daily, I was able to get in early on this down tilt. However, unfortunately, as you can see, it kind of just went haywire for the rest of the day. Did sell off with tech, but didn't really go crazy. You had the broader sell off, nothing insane. Came back up, so it's holding steadily. The other thing I did is on the news that Snap is no longer going to, or we're not necessarily worried about Microsoft TikTok. I did buy a Snap call off the original push up here. I have that for August 28th, $24 call, and I do plan on holding that just because, again, all we need is them to get back near those all-time highs. Snap has been doing well. I say all-time highs. We really only need to get a little bit higher than where we're at right now. Some of this action that we can see back over here. And once that happens, we should be good to go. So again, there's a number of items that have occurred, including if we look at SPY over the past 2 weeks. Despite the scare today, I do believe that we are going to continue to hit all-time highs. And that may be coming sooner rather than later, depending on the stimulus conversations that are being had, as well as the additional support that the president legislated in via executive order. And that is a play there because I still don't believe that we are, or rather the president can legislate. So I think that there may be some ongoing points there. However, that's not the point of this video. Just wanted to highlight the trades we made plus what we're doing. So what we're going to look at next is Apple. The reason that I want to look at Apple is because they have had quite a bit of volatility over the past 2 weeks. And that is because they had earnings as one point. They also announced a stock split, and there was a huge surge in tech as a whole. So with all of that happening, they've had some volatility. They've had a bit of a sell-off. There's just a number of things that are ongoing, and I'd like to talk about how you can utilize Bollinger Bands. So this is a step that you can look at pieces of it in Robinhood. However, you cannot actually utilize the Bollinger Bands. But the first step here on TD Ameritrade's ThinkOrSwim platform on the web version, you can just click Bollinger Bands. And this middle line that you see here is a moving average, a simple moving average. So you can create that on Robinhood. And as you can see that I'm tracking it, the goal of that is just the simple moving average, the average over time. And this is a not as of day, but a, depending on the chart, I think this one may be a 10-day moving average, 5-day moving average. I'd have to verify that. But this is a good chart that shows the point of Bollinger Bands. So what are Bollinger Bands? So these are showing, this upper level and lower level are showing 2 standard deviations away from the simple moving average. So as you can see here, this is showing outside 2 standard deviations, as well as the sell-off here just kind of touches it. The idea behind that is that this quantitative metric is going to capture 90% of the moves that a stock is going to make, and that can definitely be proven here. You can see some of the highs here, you can see some of the highs here. The idea behind the Bollinger Bands is that it is trying to showcase how the stock is behaving and is it going outside the realm of probability. Again, that standard deviation is what do we anticipate is going to happen using statistical analysis. This is commonly referred to as looking at the technicals of a company, not necessarily the fundamentals of a company. So what we can look at here, or what we can track going through these various stages here, is do we want to buy or sell the company? So whenever you see these start to stay closer together, that is indicative of a squeeze, which essentially means the stock is low volatility, it's not moving as much, and that tends to be when you expect a breakout, whether up or down. So you can see that it stays relatively close together, and then we had this breakout, and it really continued upwards. Again, this isn't because of the technical analysis, but rather there was news that prompted this. If I bring this down to 1 week, you can see that this continues to kind of squeeze together, and you see that it stays, and then you see that breakout recur again. So you can see that there's a much wider spread between the upper and the lower, and that is indicative of further volatility. So whenever you turn these on, I like to use these not really to set up trades, aside from the fact that if I am working on my long-term portfolio, for example, Bank of America, as all of you know, my long-term portfolio, if you turn on the Bollinger Bands that you can see here, I don't like to trade when it's above the moving average or invest in the long term, just because whether it is or it's not, I don't feel like I'm getting a good deal because it's just higher than it's significantly higher. I mean, there's cases where it's farther up than I would normally have it, or rather it's outside of 2 standard deviations. That shows a lot of growth. Again, I don't think that any of this is bad, and I don't think that if you have a plan that you should deviate away from it necessarily by utilizing Bollinger Bands. This is just a study that helps me when I'm looking at stocks to evaluate, is now a good time to go in? And I would recommend, if you're a new investor, just to play with this a little bit and to see, is this going to be a beneficial item for you to utilize? I'm personally a fan, and I do use it when I'm looking at my long-term investments. Not necessarily as much when I'm doing these options trades. So if you found this video helpful, please drop a like down below. And if you are not a subscriber, I am really close to 200 subscribers. So please check out the channel. I hope to provide you a lot of value. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you all.